Hey guys, it's me, Adradix, and we're here again on another Wuthering Waves video. And this will be probably, depending on the timing, but back-to-back uploads, essentially on the day before release. And I just wanted to talk about why I'm excited to play Wuthering Waves. In a few days, less than 48 hours, I believe, of the time I'm making this video, and probably around roughly 24 hours when this gets released. But I'm also going to talk about some things that I might worry for when Wuthering Waves releases, and just whether or not it'll be a failure. Well, it depends on how you see it as a failure or not. It could, in my opinion, not be a failure. But first off, I'm excited to see this world that they're introducing to us in Wuthering Waves. It's a post-apocalyptic world, and from what I've seen, this is some older gameplay I'm showing, but it's brilliant. It's stunning. I'm looking forward to the combat. It's a well-disciplined, very clean-looking combat, and the movement itself is just phenomenal. As you can see, you can grapple hook, you can glide. I'm pretty sure you can teleport as well somehow. I forget. I haven't played I haven't played any of the beta, but I've seen some gameplay, and obviously I've seen this gameplay. This is some older gameplay, but it is what it is. I got unlucky, didn't get a code. I ain't gonna cry about it now. But there's also these characters that look just brilliant and amazing. There's Yang, who's just adorable. Even the Rover looks fantastic. The male one, not so much. There's other characters that I just can't remember off the top of my head, but they just look phenomenal. A lot of people say they're a little bland, but, you can't really complain. It is what it is. It's an art style. Everyone has their pleasures, and that's one of my worries about it, is people have, you hear some designs that just look fantastic, and the echoes are amazing. They're just so cool with the little monsters. But some people don't like the design of this world. In my opinion, recent gameplay and from the trailer that they released the other day, that they live stream, the gameplay was just a lot better. The world looked brighter. And like looking at these new worlds here, or these new maps that they're introducing, and that were announced yesterday, these just look stunning. Oh, this one not so much, but you can tell that they really turned up the vibrancy compared to the gameplay of release from like a year ago, or even the beta. But you can tell this is a very vibrant, and that's definitely a optional choice. I personally never had a problem with the darker aesthetic, it's post-apocalyptic, but it's a personal preference, and a lot of people are used to the Hoyo bright, vibrant colors, and I can see why they made that change. I never had an issue, but they're trying to accommodate for a greater audience, and that's understandable. That's something to look forward to. The battle music, yeah, I can't play it for you right now, but it's just phenomenal. The tracks just hit, and maybe the atmospheric music might need some help. I haven't listened to it as much. As I said, I haven't watched that many streams, but I have seen a lot of battles, and a lot of the music is just brilliant. They did a really good job on that. The wishing system leans really fair, to be honest. 80 pity, you can lose a 50-50 for limited banner characters, but you can't lose weapon banners, which is just so good, and just saves you. It's more free to play in that sense if you are pulling for weapons. Whether or not you have to pull for weapons and like mandatory usage of banner or on your pulls to these banners, that's another debate. on whether it is more free to play or not. But that's a whole nother video we can talk about, and I'll probably make it at some point. But there are some worries that I've seen, and I myself can acknowledge that there could be some problems here. Some people just call it a Genshin clone. In my opinion, so what? So what? It's not even a Genshin clone. It has its own story. I mean, you could say any gacha game at this point, any open world gacha game is a Genshin clone, but it's just not. Oh, I mean, you could say that, but to knock it down, it has its own merit. It has a better combat system. And just to say that it's a clone is just devaluing the product that they've worked so hard to produce. Even if you're a clone, it doesn't matter if it's still a good game. Compared, even if it's better than the compared first game, then so what? It's a better product. It's a newer product that's better. You can see that with a lot of games nowadays. That you could say that with PUBG and Fortnite. Granted, Fortnite added a whole new element and is a whole different thing, but in a sense, it's you can say it's just a Genshin, or not a Genshin clone, but it is a PUBG clone. Or you could say Pokemon is a monster, Pocket Monster clone. But so what? Pokemon was better. Well, arguably it's better, but I haven't played the original, but it's way bigger and there's a market for it. League of Legends is a Dota clone in a sense, and it just did what everyone wanted Dota to be, but they changed it to be a whole nother game. And that's fundamentally what Wuthering Waves is doing. They're taking disgruntled Genshin players and giving them what they want, which is harder combat, more end game, and just being heard is another thing, which I myself am amazed on how well they have listened to the audience and their players and their critiques. They've shown time to time that they're willing to listen to an audience, to their audience, and change the facts and change how this game is. They change what, like 80% of the story because people were complaining about it. That's unreal. 80% of the story, they essentially redid the whole story. That's amazing. Simply because people said the story kind of sucks. I already kind of talked about some people's worries about the game, like the music and the character design, but personally, that's just a personal preference, and I don't think you're ever going to break it, but they've already kind of adjusted that. Like, you can see from this clip right here, it's so much darker in aesthetics, but I showed you an earlier version, and they tuned up the vibrancy. And it's fine. They've answered people's, like, worries to the point, for the most part. One thing is that I personally am worrying about that can be an issue is the marketing. I feel they've, I wouldn't say dropped the ball at first, and recently they've been improving their marketing. Is it effective? I don't know. But they are putting an effort to marketing, especially with that live stream last night. There's an effort, right? But whether or not it's effective is a whole nother question. That stream last night was not effective. It did essentially nothing for them. You had, what, 40k people watching to see the gameplay, see and be introduced to the characters of this game, the combat, maybe even the system of the combat itself, and you just didn't even get that. You just had people yapping and eating and doing trivia, which isn't going to do anything for you. Another thing, it's a minor thing, and it's probably just a Western audience thing, is the naming conventions of a lot of these characters. I personally I'm gonna butcher half of these names, and I'm not gonna remember a lot of them, simply because they are more Eastern oriented like it's for oriented for Eastern audiences in that sense. A lot of these names are more culturally Asian and those naming conventions. And that's, I would say, again, a personal problem. But if you are trying to market for a bigger audience, like Genshin or Honkai, like you can look at Honkai and see a lot of their characters, their naming conventions. Yeah, some of them, like Fu Xuan, is a little bit more Eastern. I can't think of any other names off the top of my mind. There's definitely a lot of other characters. Here is one of them. Editor, put that in. Here's another one. Another one. Oh, another one. After that, but like there are a lot of other characters that have standard naming conventions, like Blade, Kafka, Aventurine, Topaz, very standard names that, at least for your Eastern audience, is gonna know. And I think even in like, if you are from these Asian countries, you're gonna probably remember those weird names that are English or like Eastern. You're probably gonna remember them more. I may be wrong, but in my opinion, when I'm reading something in Spanish and it's just some like English random ass name for a character, that stands out a lot more than like a Pedro or a, I don't know, some other normal brown boy name. But that's, again, not that important. But there is, that kind of stems into localization, which I think might be a problem for them. As you can see, it was just the live stream, again, I'm using an example, was a little like, it was like written by bots, and I think that was just a translation error, or a lot of it was that translation or that language barrier that just kind of made it sound so boring and so lame. It's just the localization issue itself is worrying, because there was mistranslations in the betas, but hopefully they'll fix that by then. And I know there was in a live stream that they got rid of Brazilian Portuguese, which is an issue, I guess. But there are those small little problems that could make it troublesome later on. But hopefully that's more fixable. I mean, once you get more staff, that's solved ideally. Or you, in terms of the live stream, just sub the Chinese one. But it's solvable. They've listened to us in the past, and they'll definitely listen to us in the future if they want to be competitive. And they've shown that they've been competitive. So now we're on to whether or not Wuthering Waves will be a success or a failure. And that alone will depend on your definition of failure in gacha games. Is it gonna be bigger than Genshin? I don't think so, right? Is it going to be bigger than Honkai? Star Rail, not Impact. Maybe. Maybe. Will it be a failure if it doesn't beat Genshin? I don't think so. If it keeps par to par with Genshin, not like on release Genshin, because that's just insane, because they had COVID buff and everyone was at home playing games. But if they compete with Genshin right now, that will be a success. I don't think we should be trying to place. So I have here right now the charts on Google Trends on based off web searches, comparing all three games, right? Of course, you see Genshin number 100%. So this interest over time just means, I'll read it. This number represents the relative interest to the highest point of the chart. 100 being the peak popularity and 50 being half of that, right? And that goes on in the percentages. So 100, this is when Genshin was on release. It was massive, massive, because it copied, going back to what if it copies it? It literally just copied Zelda or Breath of the Wild and just put it into gacha game, in gacha form. Just like Fortnite took PUBG gaming and put it into like cartoon building. So in a sense, that comparing and saying it's a clone, bullshit. Just throw that out the window. It doesn't give a shit as long as it's good, right? But here you can see Genshin 100%. Star Rail on release, around 50% of the interest, right? And now you see Wuthering Waves in the blue, and you're seeing that climb. There's 2 days until release. Will it surpass Honkai? Or will it be less than that? I think it'll definitely, in my opinion, surpass Honkai in interest. I don't think it, honestly, without a shadow of doubt, it won't beat Genshin in terms of interest over time. I mean, this is web searches, but Genshin, you can shit on it as much as you want, but Genshin dramatically has shaped gacha games, and it is that fundamental base pillar of gacha gaming. And whether or not it's shit now, it was shit, it was fundamental to gacha gaming. So in that sense, Wuthering Waves I don't think is going to surpass Genshin, but it will be a competitor. And that's what we need Wuthering Waves to be, my bad. And will it displace Genshin Impact? No, I don't think so. I highly doubt it. But will it be good enough to compete? Hopefully. Everything shows and supports that it will be. And that will be enough, in my opinion. That will be enough for Wuthering Waves to be successful. You don't need it to beat Genshin. You need it to compete. I mean, if it beats Genshin right now, that's phenomenal. That'll be great, because it'll put Genshin in its place, and it'll breed competition. And competition is necessary in any field. Because you can just, if there's no competition, there's no need for improvement. And you'll just stay stagnant, and you'll get the same boring shit as a lot of people are saying with Genshin right now. And Honkai is a different game. It is a sort of competition, but it's fundamentally a complete, it's a round system. It's not a live battle mechanic type of game. There's definitely a word for that, but I'm just blanking. But Wuthering Waves is in the same genre, essentially, in terms of the fighting and the mechanics. So I believe that Wuthering Waves will do phenomenally. And I think everyone should want that. There's no reason not to. It's gonna make Genshin have to step up or sit down and let Wuthering Waves be the better game. Is it gonna be more is Wuthering Waves gonna have more players than Genshin? I doubt it, but it doesn't need that. It just needs to spur Genshin to be better, or spur any other gacha game to be better. It could even spur Honkai to be better. But competition is important, and I'm excited for the future of gacha gaming with multiple releases this year like Azure Permalia and Wuthering Waves. This is a thriving game genre, and I'm so lucky to have gotten it in a time when it started to flourish. And I'm excited for what the future brings. So those are my thoughts, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. I'll definitely probably be making another one, so before release, hopefully. I'll be streaming on my Twitch when it releases. Link is twitch.tv/Adradix, and I'll hopefully see you there. If not, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!